Drones are great at getting a unique perspective of events and activities. However, flying directly over people can be dangerous and is not allowed under the Part 107 rules. You may never fly over anyone not directly involved in the flight operations, such as a member of the flight crew, without a waiver. Instead, fly at a safe distance from any bystanders or ensure that they're under a covered structure so that everyone is protected if the aircraft suffers a failure. In this illustration, our pilot isn't even looking at his aircraft when he flies it behind the building, out of the visual line of sight. Part 107 rules require you to always keep your aircraft where you can see it with the unaided eye, meaning no binoculars, telescopes, or spotting scopes. If the aircraft happens to go behind a structure when doing a building or tower inspection, you should attempt to regain visual contact as soon as possible, or better yet, use a visual observer. Visual observers are required when flying with FPV goggles and can be used during any flight to help provide situational awareness and to identify hazards on the ground and in the air. Visual observers should be briefed prior to flight and should maintain communication with the pilot in command at all times. Drugs and alcohol and flying don't mix. Just like manned aviation, the rule of thumb for flying small UAS is 8 hours bottle to throttle, meaning you may not operate a UAS within 8 hours of consuming alcohol or if your blood alcohol content is over 0.04%. That's half the legal limit for driving. Any violation involving alcohol or drugs can result in a 1-year suspension or revocation of your remote pilot certificate. So instead, wait 8 hours and ensure that you are free of the effects of drugs and alcohol before you fly. Flying a single drone by itself can be challenging enough, so you should never fly more than one aircraft at a time without a waiver. Instead, find some friends who also enjoy flying, or join a local drone club or meetup. Just make sure that you always fly safely and communicate with the other pilots when you have multiple aircraft sharing the airspace. And just like manned aircraft, drones must receive ATC approval to operate in certain airspace. Operate within Class B, C, D, or even certain Class E airspace without approval and you could lose your license or worse. In most cases, being 5 miles or more away from an airport will ensure that you're in the clear. However, you should always check NOTAMs and TFRs to ensure there are no additional restrictions where you want to fly. If your operations necessitate flying from a moving vehicle or aircraft, be prepared to apply for a waiver. The only exception to this is if you are flying over a sparsely populated area and are not carrying another person's property for hire. So your best bet is to park the vehicle or go somewhere that's sparsely populated. Whether you're tracking animals or just want to get a great shot of the skyline at night, make sure that you obtain a waiver if you plan on operating more than 30 minutes before sunrise or 30 minutes after sunset. When operating during civil twilight, make sure that you have visible anti-collision lights that can be seen for at least 3 miles. And if you can't obtain a waiver for nighttime flying, only fly during the day. This one's fairly simple. You may never carry hazardous materials on your aircraft. Additionally, you may never drop an item from your drone in a manner that creates an undue hazard. So, dropping the mythical hammer Mjolnir is bad. Dropping feathers is good. Good visibility is critical to safe UAS operation. That's why the Part 107 rules require a minimum of 3 statute mile visibility and prohibits flying within 500 feet below or 2,000 feet laterally of any cloud. Flying near, in, or above clouds without a waiver is a violation of the rule. That's why it's always important to check aviation weather forecasts before you fly and land if inclement weather shows up. While most non-racing UAS can't get anywhere near this speed, it should be noted that you may never fly faster than 87 knots or 100 miles per hour without a waiver. Most pilots will tell you that slow and steady flight will provide better imagery or data anyways. The Part 107 rules prohibit any unwaivered flight above 400 feet AGL, unless you're flying within 400 feet of a structure. Then, you may fly up to 400 feet above the top of that structure. In this example, you're inspecting a tower that's 300 feet high, so you may fly up to 400 feet above that tower or 700 feet AGL without requiring a waiver. And that does it for the flight restrictions section of the operating rules. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic.